Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Self Storage Podcast. I am your host, Scott Meyers, and today we have a special guest. We have Jean-Michael here, who's going to talk about, well, his entrance into self storage in a unique kind of a backdoor way by way of technology. Of course, there isn't any conversation out there right now, regardless of the topic, whether it's self storage, construction, or really any industry, any matter. We're talking about AI. And so that is how our guest really found his way into self storage and into being able to get into real estate and capitalize on AI and getting into real estate much easier and much faster using the technology that is available to us today. So, with that, Storage Nation, welcome to Jean-Michael.
Thanks, Scott. I'm really excited to talk about AI and talk about my history, and really appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. I caught a few snippets of you on another show, and I said, all right, we got to have this guy on to talk to Storage Nation and talk a little bit more about what it is that he is doing. And so, give us a little bit of background on your backstory and technology, and then how you parlay that into utilizing it for finding deals and all sorts of other ways utilizing AI in self storage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts way back to my childhood. I guess even before me, before I even existed. My parents are immigrants from West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, also known as Ivory Coast, French-speaking country on the West Coast, and they are very smart individuals. Loved engineering, loved math growing up, and then they parlayed that into coming to the U.S. to study computer science, computer engineering at University of Minnesota, Twin Cities in the '90s. And then soon after graduating, they worked at Intel, really big silicon fabricator that makes chips for computers, had me in the Bay Area, and the rest was history. And so essentially, I grew up in a household that loves technology. At the same time, I grew up with my dad, who loves entrepreneurship, always asking us about, what businesses should we start to make more money on the side. I remember I was selling big packs of Capri Suns to my sixth grade friends at the time, buying them wholesale, selling them individual for $1 a pop, things like that to just, I don't know, have fun, make more money. And I think naturally, as I kept pursuing computer science as well, it just made sense to continue this path of entrepreneurship. While my parents were still very technical, they also invested in real estate. So I saw them invest in single family homes all across the United States. So naturally, I'm just a culmination of all of their interests into down distilled into one being. And so I studied computer science, went to Carnegie Mellon University, but I really wanted to learn AI. At the time, it was called machine learning, where we're training computers how to learn, how to think like humans. And so I took that knowledge, and as soon as I got out of school, I knew I needed to buy real estate myself. So this was peak COVID. This is 2021, freshly graduated. I'm 21, 22 years old, and I knew that I had to buy real estate. And interest rates at the time were 2%, 2.5%, and the competition was just insane. You probably lived this. It was the first for me, and I knew, like, I don't have cash, I don't have significant amount of capital. So how am I going to compete in this marketplace? And my only way was, how could I lean on my technology skills, my data skills to help me get an advantage? And so essentially, I built my own version of PropRise, my own data tool to help me identify single family homes across the U.S. that, as soon as I hit the market that fit my criteria, I could instantly put an offer out on it. So I'd send my broker as soon as something got listed, get an offer out within 24 hours, and get that deal closed within 48 hours. And so that was my approach to it. And I knew that there was other folks in real estate that needed tool like this that they could leverage all the data that's out there to help pinpoint exactly the deals they should pursue faster than the competition.
So we utilize a call center, call arounds, and we have an entire acquisition team, that works on, following through on leads and the old, the traditional route that we've had for many years. What does, I would say, even a current or an optimized call center or an acquisitions team look like now for, say, any commercial real estate company that is utilizing AI maybe to the fullest extent that we can right now? How does that look different than what it did, say, maybe even a year or two ago?
Yeah. So I've been in AI for over 10 years, and just the transformation of how the effectiveness of AI has been in businesses these past 24 months has been, astonishing. And so I remember GPT-3 came out. This was the first iteration of ChatGPT in November 2023. I remember it like it was yesterday. And yeah, it could write you essays. That's great. But it could not do voice. Today, we're
Hmm.
seeing tons of startups, and even ChatGPT has this as well, where you can talk to it, and it feels like a very real life human that you're speaking with. there's a few nuances that it's not really great at. Like if you interrupt it, it's not the best at handling interruptions and
Hmm.
pausing for you. But I am seeing call centers being able to, I would say, being improved or enhanced or made more efficient using maybe a simplified version of a voice model that they could, interface with clients at a first step. And if there's still humans that need to be in the loop, if it flags that there's
Hmm.
still attention that the customer needs, it could then tag in a human in the loop. And just makes the process of customer support or whatever case user may need much more effective for a lot of these firms. And so that's just one use case of how AI, in this case, voice AI, is helping call centers. But self storage and acquisitions and real estate at whole, there's so many bits and pieces where AI can
Hmm.
dramatically help for the business processes today.
So we've been obviously be doing a deep dive in all facets, at the organizational level, and that ways to we can be more efficient, make better decisions, and just operate, in a different fashion. Yes, that means reducing a little bit of our payroll, but really just it allows us to move faster, and that is really the name of the game. But let's dial back. Let's dial into the actual facility side. We've looked at the very beginning. In the very beginning, it seemed that AI was making a big splash and in security. So smarter cameras, smarter systems, heat mapping and sensing, and now looking at individuals and understanding who they are. Have they been in here multiple times within the facility, and is it just a client? And determining whether it is an intruder, and just getting really smart about the mapping of the movement within a facility. How many people are in there, the hours, and that's all great, and that's fine and good, but it doesn't make us any more money. That's just security. And again, advances in that are fantastic. We're also seeing now on the platform side, going back to the chatbots, an entire platform from soup to nuts, from the chatbot who is communicating with the client or the prospect, moving them through the sales process, moving them in, handling their invoicing, late notices, and then even moving on to AI Lean, which is another third party AI company, that handles any type of a lean auction and sale process as well. So, on the facility side and the operation side and marketing, certainly there's a number of different companies out there that are utilizing AI to dial in their Facebook ads and any paid ads, AdVarank being one of them. There's a number of others, but everything from the front end, to the back office. What are the most exciting advances that you have seen, and where do you think that there's still a great opportunity to be able to optimize a facility utilizing AI?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And so I'd say our focus primarily is on the deal sourcing or deal analysis
Hmm.
side for folks doing acquisitions or development and of some sort. So I have the most
Hmm.
context on those particular sectors. So
Hmm.
and like there's significant amount of opportunities to implement AI across the stack in acquisition. So acquisitions, there's manual research you have to do to analyze an opportunity
Hmm.
or analyze markets. Therefore, there's market specific research, there's deal specific research. If you're a developer, maybe you really care about how does the city feel or about self storage in this market? Is there any recent rejections that that's had? So you can play your game and figure out how to drive a narrative to help convince the city. And so and that's just the top level. And then there's also the piece of, okay, once you have a deal under contract, what other underwriting things should you be aware of, and other types of due diligence that we should be flagged, that AI data can help alert us, so we have very strong confidence on the deal that we're putting through and putting capital towards.
All right, Jean-Michael. So that's very timely. I'm literally right before our call. I am submitting to one of the cities in which we're already operating in a permitted use request, because we have a building where they allowed us to put storage on two of the four floors, and then the other two, they stated they wanted to have an office and maker space in there. Well, we haven't been able to lease that up, and so I'm going back and asking and requesting to be able to to utilize those other two floors of self storage, allow us to do that. And so that's a kind of a special case. But anytime we head into a zoning meeting or a planning meeting, and we're looking to either convert a building into self storage that isn't currently zoned for it, or a piece of dirt, that is one of the bigger questions. We will typically go into the office, and I'll have a discussion with the planning board and say, hey, I'm looking at this piece of ground, or I'm looking at this building. What is the temperature of the city council or the city planning board or zoning commission with regards to storage, and how many things have been turned down in the past, and how many have been approved recently? But you're not going down there, you're not visiting it, from what it sounds like. You're doing the research online, and they're scraping, and they're pulling approvals and maybe non-approvals to give you a better idea heading into it. Is that correct? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so PropRise can't do this today, but it's an area that we're exploring, and it's
Hmm.
there's tools out there that can help you do this today. I think ChatGPT o3 O3 Pro are really great models to help you do this. But essentially what we're trying to understand is, most of these city councils meetings they're transcribed in some way. And so the transcripts are online, they're, in some document, and that's perfect fuel for
Mm-hmm.
a model, an AI model, to go and read through and understand all the nuances about
Mm-hmm.
what's actually occurring today at your local city. And so one thing that's top of mind for me is like, it would be amazing to have all that information given to you as a developer, so you can help build a very strong case. Which deals have they let through, which ones have they passed, and why for
Mm-hmm.
both.
Mm-hmm.
So then you know how to pull at their heartstrings. But otherwise, doing this manual research yourself might be extremely time consuming.
Yeah.
There's tons of meeting minutes out there. How much of that is actually relevant to the deals that you're trying to put through? AI can
Mm-hmm.
help you parse through that and give you the exact snippets or the timestamps that are helpful for you.
That's fantastic. All right. So let's talk, let's dial back. Let's dig down into more of the acquisition side, which is your specialty. What are some of uh, the what are some of the tricks of the trade, the strategies that have been most helpful that you've been able to, continue to pull out of the bag that allows you to beat your competition?
Yeah. So just walking back, you asked about my background and how do we get into
Mm-hmm.
self storage in the first place. And so, I said I built a similar tool for myself, single family homes. But we knew that I was getting into other types of real estate at the same time. Mobile home parks, self storage were some
Mm-hmm.
top contenders for me as well. And so I'm a very analytical person. And while
Mm-hmm.
I don't have analysis by paralysis, I do a deep ton of research before make any major movements in what I do in
Mm-hmm.
my career or my business.
Yeah.
And
Me
so
too.
in order to investigate to see if self storage was an opportunity for me, my whole team, we just sat down and just called and emailed as many self-storage investors and lenders, developers,
Mm-hmm.
brokers to understand more about the process. And talking
Mm-hmm.
to more of the acquisition and development teams, we found that there was a broken process. So to them, it wasn't as broken, but to us, it felt like there could be improvements made. So, they're
Mm-hmm.
getting a deal from a broker. It's in their email inbox. They're plugging that address into a data platform and checking the rents, the square foot per capita, maybe looking at the market as well, the demographics from the census, and maybe five other data tools to just come up with
Mm-hmm.
a no or no, a go or no go decision. And nine times
Mm-hmm.
out of 10, it's a no go. And so my thought process was, okay, they're spending so much time analyzing these deals and they're saying no, which is good. They're saying no, but how do we
Mm-hmm.
get them closer to those yeses and make those
Mm-hmm.
yeses more abundant? And so that was the initial inspiration of figuring out how to use PropRise. And so PropRise does it essentially takes in your criteria, your buy box, what would make a deal
Mm-hmm.
be a yes, and then scours the internet, scours deals for you on your behalf to then flag the ones that has a perfect match to what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
just that process in itself, essentially, it's a I like it to a treasure hunt, or you're looking for gold, and we're the magnet that can go and find that needle in the haystack. And that's what PropRice
Yeah.
is offering for these clients. And they're saying yes to more deals, and ultimately that means more closed ones in their deal pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's walk through exactly what you do at properties. Just, if somebody comes to you and they are looking at multiple ways of being able to be more efficient and obviously get more deals, what does the platform look like and how can you help them?
Good question. So we work with major top self storage developers all across the United States, big to some of the largest REITs that you may know of, and they come up with us with simple question. How do we get more deals in the pipeline, close on more deals, win more, find better deals, and PropRise is great for that. So how does it exactly work? So PropRise, we're going through. So I guess how PropRise works, I'm going to start off with the data ingestion
Mm-hmm.
layer. So
Mm-hmm.
we're collecting massive amounts of data into PropRise. I want to make a caveat though. PropRise is not a data company. It provides data, yes, but really we're an insights storytelling platform is how I view it. But we're aggregating all this data. We built AI model that can go and scrape self-storage facilities and get the rental rate
Mm-hmm.
data all across the US. We are getting listings as well into the platform. We're understanding zoning codes. We're getting demographics from the census as well, pulling it all together into one place. But the layer that's novel to us is then we built a user interface on top of that. So then
Mm-hmm.
clients can say, hey, where are all the self-storage facilities that are for sale today in a market that has above $2 rates? where we're seeing very high occupancy in those markets.
Mm-hmm.
And we could help flag those within 2 seconds and identify those self-storage facilities. For developers, they might have a different type of criteria that they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for rate trends increasing, population growth increasing, lots of housing developments and retail developments occurring nearby. They can put those criteria into PropRise, and we'll show them all
Mm-hmm.
the markets that have those market characteristics. And then next step that from there is, okay, how do we actually find deals? And so we'll show them land listings, or if they're looking for conversions, we'll show them industrial or flex space or something like that are zoned by right for self-storage. So then they can make moves on those opportunities really quickly in the platform. So essentially, is how do we aggregate as much data as possible at PropRise and make it usable, tangible for clients to put in their criteria and search for what they're looking for.
Give me an example of, maybe when you over delivered for a client, and maybe one of the best examples of a case study that you've been able to help some folks out with.
Yeah. So a great case study would be from the guys over at Olympus Ventures. So Andrew Baranek is the head of development out there at for the self-storage arm. Olympus Ventures is a family office for the CEO and founder of Best Buy, and they're buying
Mm-hmm.
massive amounts of self-storage development opportunities and multifamily development opportunities. And he was telling me the other day, he's been a lifeline customer, probably one of our earliest customers since we started about 16 months ago. And he was telling me that the past year on PropRise has transformed the way that they're doing deal sourcing at the company. Before, they were they're monitoring maybe 4 different markets and putting out an LOI every couple of months. So maybe 6 LOIs a year, and that was their status quo. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe getting 2 of those LOIs into completion. But now with PropRise, now in 2025, he put out 6 LOIs within the first quarter of this year. He's monitoring more than 4 markets. Now he's monitoring over 10 different markets across the US that he wasn't aware of before. He just didn't have the data tools to understand
Mm-hmm.
where those markets were hidden. And that's allowed him to increase the number of deals that they're closing on by 2x with this new process of leveraging this search first approach of PropRise instead of a more reactionary approach where you're getting deals and validating if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And once again, we've talked about so many times with Storage Nation that when it comes to development and/or acquisitions, the underwriting is where the rubber meets the road, and making sure that we're not overpaying for something, and making sure that we've dotted I's, crossed T's, our projections are strong. But at the end of the day, Jean-Michael, it seems like speed is the name of the game. Those who win are those that have access to the data and can get it very quickly to make a decision of whether to move forward or not. The yes or no answers, and that's what I've been so impressed with, and so excited about is, there isn't anything out there. There isn't any question that I have out there right now that I hesitate anymore to say, if I'm stuck, if I pause for a minute and I just begin to ponder something, is how am I going to figure this? I may stop and I type it in. I've got a couple of advisory boards. I've created my own chats, my own GBTs,
Nice.
and inside of my ecosystem, and specific to different topics, whether it be financials like P&Ls, or other areas of the business, and even a personal one. And then I'll run those a very good prompt. As the key is getting a long prompt, anywhere from 300 to 400 words, and I'll spell it out. Sometimes it's much simpler than that, but if I got a complex problem, and what comes back is, many times, most of the time, I say the solution. But if not, all it does is just gets me thinking in another direction to be able to solve a problem or just move things forward. And I got to tell you, I don't remember what it was like. I was around, obviously, when the internet was, kind of created and born. And when we started using it, I was like, this is fantastic. But I don't ever remember being as excited as I am right now to recognize, what's available, to be able to curate all that information and have something assembled in a form for me to be able to just implement right away.
It's incredible how much of a change AI has been for businesses. So if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, real estate investor, uh, leveraging these tools, I would say, is essentially non-negotiable. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just the amount of leverage you have by using AI is unmatched. And so I was actually looking. I don't spend too much time on my phone, but when I do, I'm
Mm-hmm.
usually on one of 2 apps, either YouTube, where I'm just researching, having fun, and while I'm relaxing. But the
Mm-hmm.
second top used app on my phone is ChatGPT, and that blew my mind. But honestly, it's reality. I use it so much every single day to research my opportunity, research my own business,
Mm-hmm.
and just post questions. Am I moving in the right direction? Here is what I'm doing today. Here's this current situation. Is this
Mm-hmm.
how? Bill
Mm-hmm.
Gates would approach. This is how Steve Jobs would approach this. With this is
Yeah.
how Warren Buffett would approach this. And then you can kind of use them as a
Mm-hmm.
proxy for what these really intelligent minds that you respect and inspire to be can think about how your situation is. And so that's how I use it. But it's been a game changer for me. It's the most fun I've ever had with the new technology for sure.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the new, either somebody new to self storage or new to AI or both looking to utilize this in our industry. What are some of the baby steps maybe that you would lay out for some folks so that they don't get left behind right away if they're not currently implementing AI in their business?
Yeah. So I like to just start off with having folks just understand, just look through your day to day life and where do you see any blockers or friction or things that could
Hmm.
be automated in some way. And so for me, it was really good to have a sparring partner. So I have a co-founder with PropRise, and we like to talk a lot about our business. But also, if he's it's 2 a.m. and he's not awake, who do I go to?
Hmm.
I leverage AI for that. And so, is
Hmm.
there other things in your business that you could help parse out data? So maybe it's
Yeah.
you have this Excel model that you're trying to put data into, and then you can take a screenshot of a platform, or you have a CSV file of data and you want to enter that data into this Excel model. And so you can copy and
Hmm.
paste, or you can
Hmm.
ask AI, hey, can you try plugging this data into this Excel file and download that file and just see what it does? It's not, I'll be honest, it's not perfect, but it's a way just to test the waters and see how far, what's the extent of the capabilities AI can have for you. And if that
Hmm.
helps you, great. If it doesn't, you learn that it can't do it, and you can still try baby steps on how to implement AI in your daily life.
Yep.
So I talked a lot about AI and how it relates to business, but also it's helpful for my personal life as well. So
Hmm.
um, getting good date recommendations for you and your wife or your girlfriend, great way, unmatched. If you're in a big city or even not, it's able to understand the location you are and fetch reviews and give you good recommendations. That's personalized to you.
Hmm.
If you're looking for book recommendations, it's a great way to help, you can say, hey, I like book A, book B, maybe something that's very similar to those, and it will help you make recommendations as well. Just any other aspects that are
Hmm.
more personal or you're more passionate about, feel free to give it an ask and just see what it says, and I'm sure you'll be inspired.
Yeah, yeah, I have as well. And again, I take a lot of things to my advisory board, and it has some of the folks on it that you just mentioned. On the personal side, same thing. We just went to Istanbul, Turkey for 4 days,
Amazing.
and I asked it to map out, what are the things I need to see over the course of 4 days, and it mapped it all out. Literally mapped it out. Gave me the pins, and then also travel time and the order in which to see things to maximize travel time
Amazing.
recommendations. I mean, it just kept going and going and going, and that's just a simple one, but also another one in which we used to fumble around doing that type of thing before, and it'll
Right.
even go out and book stuff for you. I mean, it was just kind of amazing, great and efficient use of our time and a number of other areas as well. And so, at the end of the day, if we're freeing up time, speed's the name of the game. If we're freeing up time, even in our personal lives, to be able to focus more on the business and just be more efficient, there's no reason to just sit around and ask and wonder and wait and waste time any longer. There really isn't. And it's just an amazing tool and amazing time that we're living in. So ChatGPT, same here. I also use sometimes for issues that require a little deeper thinking and a little more nuanced answers. I use Claude .ai and also Grok at times, and sometimes compare them. And many times, what I'll do is I'll take something from Chat and then I'll throw it in Claude because it does give me a more detailed answer. Do you round robin any of these, or do you hop back and forth depending upon the type of question, the type of prompt, or the challenge that you're facing?
Yeah, I tell my team to spend as much business capital on all these tools, whatever makes you most
Hmm.
efficient, most
Yeah.
productive. Please use it all. So I have access to ChatGPT. I pay for the most premium plan. I think
Yep.
it's $200 a
Same
month,
here.
and it's so worth it. But also, yeah, I use Claude. I think I just use those two for now, and each have their own use cases. Even ChatGPT, there's 5 different models, each that are specializing in different things. One model I think
Mhm,
is called 4.5. It's really good for crafting emails and writing. Another model that's called 4.1. That's more for logic. O3 is
mhm,
also very logical and does lots of reasoning decisions.
mhm,
And so I do play around with all these different types of models. But I think to your
mhm.
point, if you're a beginner, just keep it simple. Start with something very easy.
Yeah.
And then as you experiment with other different tools, you'll see which models are good for what, and that'll help you just fine tune your brain on how to approach new problems.
Well, one way to fine tune my brain and how to approach new problems was to go to chat and with a prompt and say, hey, rewrite this prompt better, and then throw it back into chat or throw
There
it
you go.
then into a Claude. And it's just another one of those little hacks that just produced a even better results using ChatGPT to give me a better prompt for ChatGPT. So once again, the rabbit holes are endless, and it's just been absolutely incredible. All right, Jean-Michael. So before we wrap up here with the final question, Jean-Michael, tell us a little bit more about PropRise and how people can find you and the best ways to learn a little bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah, so you can check us out at www.proprise.ai, PROPRISE.ai. And you also reach out to me on LinkedIn, Jean-Michael Diei, a very unique spelling there. So hopefully it's in the show notes. And then, yeah, I'm always available to chat. I love talking about AI, data. I love talking about nerdy stuff, investing. So happy to chat about any of these topics.
Awesome. Jean-Michael, definitely we are going to have you back on for 2.0, without a doubt. We've got lots more that we're going to be talking about in the future. You had mentioned that you're also using chat for book recommendations, and tell us a little bit about, how you go about finding. Tell us a little bit about the prompt that you use. Is it topic specific that you're looking for better, best books, or something that matches your own personality? What is the prompt that you utilize to find some of the best books, and what have been some of the best books that you've read as a result of that?
Yeah, perfect. So I think for me, the way I go about it is, what makes me happy. What kind of books make me the most happiest? And so there's
Mm,
different types of books that are out there. I mainly listen to or read business books, of course,
mm-hmm.
productivity books,
Yep.
and I really, really care about like real life examples, not theory. And so, how do we get realistic? Real life. I did and this happened, so I can better pattern match when I face a similar problem in the future. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, I liked book A and B, so, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I liked the mom test, which is helpful for startups that are trying to validate ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I also liked how to win friends and influence people. That's a little bit of a manipulative book, but you can definitely learn how to just talk to folks and help them make
Yeah.
sure that you understand them. And so I like those two books. So they're very tangible. And so I would ask Chat,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I like these two books. I want something very similar, but now I really care
Mm-hmm.
about sales, or I really care about investing in real estate and in self storage. And so, is there any books that are like those or have a similar philosophy that you could recommend? And I would recommend some books right now. So for me, I'm really
Mm-hmm.
focused on sales. I think that's something I'm learning at this
Mm-hmm.
time and getting better at. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's a book that was recommended by Jason Lemkin called From Inevitable to Impossible. And
Mm-hmm.
while this is mainly targeted for tech startups, and this is also
Mm-hmm.
just helpful as a brain, I'll say as a psychological book to help you understand,
Mm-hmm.
like, things are very hard at the beginning and you have
Mm-hmm.
to work and grind, whether you're an investor, whether you're an entrepreneur, or just trying to get through life to get to the state where you want to. And
Yeah.
eventually it becomes possible just through the
Mm-hmm.
grind. And so I
Yeah.
just love that book to get those patterns in my brain.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Storage Nation, you have been speaking with Jean-Michael, our resident now podcast AI expert, who will be back as a guest and host once again so that we can learn a little bit more about how AI is changing the world, especially in self storage. So, John Michael, thanks so much for your time today.
Yep. Thank you so much, Scott.